approve the minutes of the April the 28th, 2020 regular meeting, please. Have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Baker made that motion, seconded by, who's that? Is that you, Fred?
I'll second.
Was that Larry? Okay. Motion by Baker, second by Wilkerson. All yes?
Yes.
Yes.
I just know I heard voices from over in there on that side. Before we go any further today, I'd like if everyone would join us in a moment of silence, please, for Mr. Tyler Woolwine. Of course, as you have probably heard, he passed away of an accidental death over the weekend, and just like to express our prayers and thoughts with the family and the Duval students and parents and the community in general. He was a social studies teacher there and a soccer coach, and really well thought of by everyone. I mean, if you didn't know him, and which I didn't know him personally, but I just saw so many comments about him that were on Facebook of how students talking about how they confided in him and all the things he did, and was real close to everyone. So that's one of those unfortunate things. But if you just join us in a moment of silence, please, on his behalf. Thank you very much. Okay, we don't have any public comments, and Mr. Winship doesn't have any presentation, so we'll go to the finance section. Can I have a motion to look at those?
I'll move.
Mrs. Smith,
Second.
Mr. Baker. Okay, all yes, well, first let's let Mr. Ellis talk, and then we'll vote on it.
Schedule of invoices totaling $709,556.80. That's attached. If you've got any questions, let me know. Before the meeting, I did something a little bit extra because I'm not on the agenda to give a report, but I ran a balance sheet as of today, and I also run some of the reports that you normally get. I just don't have a cover page on it, but I wanted to let you know we hadn't done an update in a while. Jeff and I have talked, it just didn't seem appropriate with everything else that was going on, but I wanted to keep you in the know. Tax collections are down. If you look on the first page right here of all the big thick reports that I gave you, the front page of that, and it's down nearly $1 million from 45 years ago, actually. So you got to figure if that trend's going to continue, and then with the state aid getting cut next year, I've warned you, or at least give you my opinion on what's going to happen. It's just going to get a lot tougher. The cash on the second page, everything's okay with that, nothing extravagant there, but I just wanted you to know the tax collections are still down. We've got our big check from the middle of the year. We get, I guess it's from land sales or utilities. I think is what it's, utilities. And it was larger than last year's, but it still couldn't catch us up. It wasn't big enough to really make up much ground. But I just think it's important you know that those revenues from the county still, they just keep going down year by year by year.
Okay. I guess it's totally unanticipated, but still we have to think about it and deal with, obviously. Okay, does anybody have any questions of Mr. Ellis regarding either the reports he's given or the invoices that are up for approval tonight? If not, then is an all yes on the finance section?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to move right on down to the comments and concerns. Board members, anybody have anything? Nick, do you have anything?
I've got some good news. A couple weeks ago, we talked about the pandemic EBT cards, and in case you haven't heard, the federal government has approved the state's request to be able to use that CARES Act money for that purpose. So every student in Lincoln County, because we're a CEP, Community Eligible Provision County, all of our students get free breakfast and lunch, are eligible to receive the EBT card. I think, Sean, you even posted some information I saw last
Yeah.
night. I don't know how it's gonna work exactly. I had someone tell me today that they thought that those families that already have EBT cards will get their money first, sometime in early
June, and then end of the month for everyone else.
So anyway, that's great news. I think it was a little over $300 per child that our parents will receive. There is an opportunity to opt out. So all that information will be sent directly to the parents, utilizing the addresses that we have in Weedus. So I talked to Mr. Pritchard today, wanted to make him aware that he may get some phone calls from parents out there regarding their addresses, making sure that they're up to date in Weedus, as well as for those parents that wish to opt out, they have to be able to provide the child's Weedus number. So they would, if they don't know that number, they would need to contact Mr. Pritchard to get that information.
Now, but regardless of that, there will still be the meal deliveries.
And we are going to continue to deliver meals like we are now up through the first week of June. And then the waiver to be able to provide the box meals has been extended up through September the 30th. So Mr. Roy and I, and Mr. King, I think, has had some discussions too about our summer feeding program. And at this point, even though it's not official, we're thinking that we'll continue to do what we're doing now, but we'll scale back on the number of sites. Like it may just be our regular 4 summer feeding sites. But again, that's unofficial. It's just some preliminary discussion that we've been having here. But it's definitely working, what we're doing. I don't know, have you heard anything today about the number of meals?
We've had everything from, we changed the numbers because of meals going out. We had a couple schools that gave away everything today and want more for tomorrow, and then a couple schools, everything didn't get picked up, and actually Mr. Roy right now is on his way to pick some up out of the school because the kitchen was locked, so there were 25 meals at one particular site, but that's been the max leftover. We're down, got whittled down pretty well.
And I can't say enough to all the volunteers that's making this possible. It's something to see when those trucks roll in here. Today it was the Army National Guard brought the meals to us. And we had a number of volunteers out there unloading those meals off those trucks and putting them on our trucks, and the volunteers that's out there at the schools handing out those meals. It's really been great. So anyway, we're hopeful that we're going to be able to continue with what we're doing right on through the summer months.
Okay. So ideally, or it seems like that the EBT card provides some assistance to families along with these meals
Yes.
throughout the summer. Okay. Okay, anybody have anything else in that area?
I was going to
You
mention,
have something else? I'm
yeah,
sorry.
some good news. Met with Angie this morning. Angie and I, along with Mr. King and Mr. Davis, Federal Programs Director, have been looking at funding to purchase laptops for all of our students at the high school. Just planning that for the possibility that when we come back in the fall, we may be continuing to provide some type of remote learning. Regardless, whether we do or not, we can make use, and certainly the students benefit by having the technology that they can take home with them. But Angie has already ordered the laptops. She sent that order out last week. I think she said we had 500 already on hand that she had purchased during this school year, and then she purchased the additional number that we needed to ensure that all the students at the high school would have one, using our Tools for Schools money. Now, that's a grant from the state that they give us each year. So there was enough money in that account to be able to make that purchase. Now, Kirk, jump in here if I'm leaving something out. The plan is, a couple weeks ago when we last met, I'd shared with you that we were going to get another round of federal dollars. It looks like it's gonna be approximately $1 million. And there's not really any strings attached to that money in terms of, as such, that we would be able to use that money to purchase additional laptops in hopes of being able to provide every middle school student next fall with their own laptop. And most of our textbooks come with an electronic version that we can, or that we're able to install in these devices. Teachers would be able to give the students work. And Kirk, again, you can jump in here.
You're the one, I'm letting you run, you got
Technology,
this.
yeah, it's not my thing. They laugh at me all the time about how I fight it. But anyway, that's great news, that we're gonna be able to provide, looks like all of our middle school and high school students with a laptop, their very own laptop next year. Now, with that will come some policies that the board will need to approve, adopt, in terms of what that's gonna look like. And we're also working with AEP to establish Wi-Fi hotspots at all of our schools. And Angie, when I got an update from her this morning, our guys, our tech folks are already putting some things together in terms of what the cost would be associated with being able to do that in each school. So we hope to have that up here sometime in the near future as well.
That's great.
Jeff, just, maybe you know exactly, but, wonder what the number of students in middle and high school would be then?
Well, there's roughly 900 students at the high school. And that's a large group. We were surprised at the enrollment numbers at the high school when all the other schools were declining.
Just a rough
I'm
idea.
gonna put that number around 650 to 700 students in the middle schools.
Okay, so 1,500 or so.
Yeah, total.
Do we know, or any way of finding out how many students in Lincoln County have access to internet service?
Kirk, we did a survey.
We did that. 62% of our students have access right now, but that's kind of a misnomer, Mr. Curry. When we first started doing these packets, we wanted to go digital, and we got a lot of response from our administrators letting us know that they were ready to go digital. But when parents are working from home now, those devices have disappeared because the parents need that computer. So the student doesn't have the same access to what they had at the beginning of this pandemic or this crisis. The parents are having to use that computer with greater frequency, so it doesn't allow the student to have the access to the computer. So for us to provide those is why we're working that way now.
And many of the programs that teachers are using to supplement what they're doing in the classroom can also be installed on the computers as well.
That is correct.
So what they work on, the students work on at school, they would also
A lot of the platforms are
have access
web-based.
at home. But it's a little over 1,000 students that we know do not have internet access.
1,343 packets is what we
Okay.
printed last go around. And that number will increase this because we have been told that, and the parents are very honest, and that's a good thing, is that, hey, I've got to work from home, and those 3 or 4 hours that my kid did have that computer, they don't now, so please give us the paper packet. We'll do them, but we've got to use our computers because that's how we're working. One thing that Angie did mention, and she was very concerned about, and that Mr. Redgift kind of left off, not intentionally, is that all of these devices, we will have an insurance. They will be insurable so that if something would happen, maintenance, repairs, those kind of things, that'll also be part of what we use these funds for, is to cover that, so that we just don't give them and lose them.
That'll be part of the policy.
Does the policy typically include also that they aren't theirs, that they return them if they move or
Yes.
something?
And Angie has a couple of draft policies already that she's working on. Some other counties have been one-to-one. what we're talking about for a few years now. Raleigh, Kanawha County, in particular, those counties have been doing this for a while.
I think that's where I'd say maybe Canal, where they, talking about where they had to return.
That's our goal. That's where we're moving. There's definitely a need. Hopefully we'll see something from the state on the same level. Maybe there may be some additional money there. Obviously, broadband, Wi-Fi services, that's an issue across the state. So, anyway, I just wanted you to be aware that we're moving in that direction, and we've already made a purchase.
Good.
To see that happen. And that's all I have, other than I'll request an executive session for a personnel matter.
Okay, nobody else has anything else, right? Well, that being said then, Mr. Midkiff and for a personnel matter, did you say so?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Midkiff has requested an executive session for a personnel matter at 6:23 PM. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I move.
Mr. Curry,
Second.
Mr. Baker. Is that an all yes to go into executive session?
Yes, sir.
All yes.